Hello everyone. In the last session, we have checked how to create a sample Talend job using Talend Open Studio data integration. Today, we will check in detail how we can use tFileInputDelimiter. So let's check that. So let's go to this. Let's first create a test job. Let me make it test 2. Okay. Yeah, now you can see this test2 job got created. This is the designer window. So what we can do, we can search that T file input delimited in the left side, in the right side of the palette. You can search it here. Once you type it here, you can just click on enter so that it will search. So you can get it here and you can just drag it from the palette to the designer window. And let's take T log row, T log row. You can search it here. It will come here. There is one more way that you can do. You can just click on this designer. Okay, you have clicked on that designer and you can just type t log row, whichever component you are trying to bring it to the designer. Just search that. You can see the different options. It will come. So just click on the appropriate one and that will automatically come. So there are two ways we can drag and drop from the palette, or the other option is we can directly click on designer and type the component that we are trying to find, then it will automatically come. Let's connect these two component. Yeah. So let's check in detail what all are the components, what all are the properties available in tFileInputDelimiter. So this is first the property type. If you go to this component, there are four type of sections here. There are a few sections here. Let's go to first basic section. There we have a property type. One is built-in and one is repository. If you select a repository, if anything is already created in your metadata, that will be coming here. So if you see earlier it was built-in. If you select a repository, then you can click on another tab will open. If you click on these three dots, it will go to repository and ask you to check, select the appropriate file, metadata file. So if you select, it will automatically populate all rest all data. That is a schema name, file name, and all those. Now let's check if we don't want to use the metadata, what we can do, we can use built-in. Let's select built-in. Okay. Let me recreate this first so that the rest all uh, properties are reset. The file input. Hmm. Okay, so now suppose say I have used built-in. So the schema name, you can make it either built-in or you can bring it from the repository. Let's check for built-in. So if we have selected built-in, so you can go to edit schema and you can type what all are the columns we have. 1 minute. Let me review. So now you can see there is no schema already defined. So what we can do, we can manually create the schema. Like if you click on plus, a new column will be, a new row will be created. It will be by default with a new the column name will be new column. You can change it to employee ID, and you can select the appropriate data type here. If you want to add few more, then what you can do, you can click on plus, then type the appropriate column name and the string. Suppose you want to bring this to the up before employee ID. Employee name need to be before employee ID. So how we can do that? So how we can do that? We can first select this particular one, and if you click on move up the selected item, it will go one step up. Now similarly, if we want to bring this down, so we can select this down arrow and it will come down. Now let me select one more, salary integer. Now suppose I want to make this at the top. Okay, so what I can do, I can first select this particular row, click on move up, it will go one step up, then again click on that, it will go two step up. So finally the salary becomes the first column for me. Okay, so this is then if you click on OK, that schema will be defined. But what I'll do, I can create the schema manually, and there is one more option. We can create the schema. We can invoke the schema from the repository. So let me show you how we can invoke the schema from repository. So if you select repository, this three dot will come. So you can select that. Let me first, yeah, here we don't have anything. So I can select the three dots. Then it will go to file delimited, which I have already created. Select the appropriate delimiter that I want. Okay. Now we need to select the appropriate file name, where exactly the file is. We need to select that. Okay. So you need to provide the exact path. So I already have a path. I already have a file. Just keep a note that this forward slash backward slash, here we need to give this particular forward slash. You need to change it. Okay. Now the row separator is slash n, that is a new line. Column separator, I have the data as comma separated. You can see the data. So this is a comma separated file I have created. So let me make it field separator as comma. Okay. Now I can select what is the number of header. You can see I have one header here, and the first column is my header. So I can select one header as one. If I have more than one header, suppose there are first two lines are the header, so I can select two lines, so that while reading the data, it will not consider first two line, it will consider it as header. Here you can show how many footers are there. If there are few footers in your file, like if you see here, this file is my footer. So if I don't want to execute this file, process this particular record, so I can say the last record is a footer. So footer means the last one is my footer, so I can select one, that is the last one is my footer. Okay. And limit shows, suppose there are 100 records in my file and I want to select only read only five rows, then I can select how many records I want to select, so I can select those. Yeah, let me first run this and show you. So if you see here, my actual data is this. Okay, here you can see the first record is 1 Samir January 1000, so that it came. Then the second record is February 2000, that is what it came. Then the third record is Raju January 3000, so that is what it came. And if you see the next record, I have a space in it, so it is reading that record. As we don't have any data, so it is reading that record as no value. And then the fourth record, then the next record is February 4000 for Raju, that is what it came. And I have already selected the footer is 1, correct? The footer is 1, so that's why it is not reading this particular record. Now let me remove this footer and let's check how the data is coming. You can see it is showing the error because it is expecting the employee ID as a number, but we have character in it, that is 99000. So that's why it is showing the exception. So what we can do, I can select the footer as 1. Okay, now it will run correctly. Okay, now as you can see, this line is coming because it doesn't have any data in it. So if you want to skip this particular record, I don't want to process this record as it is a null record in the file. It may happen that some of the records are getting blank. Few lines are coming in your source data with a blank value. There is no data in it. So for such type of data, what we can do, we have option skip empty row. So if I select the skip empty row, if I select this skip empty row and if I run it, so it will skip that empty record. So you can see currently I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records, including that empty record. Now, if I select this skip empty row, that particular record will not get invoked. Here you can see earlier 5 rows were selected in this. Now, if I run it once again, now let me run it once again. You can say, you can see here, now it is showing 4 rows are processed. So you can see how many rows are processed in at each component level when the data. So from here you can see from the source itself that 1 record got removed and only 4 records are processed. Okay, so this is the use of this skip empty row. Now suppose I have a zip file and I want to process that zip file. So for that, what I can do, I can use this uncompress as a zip file. So if I have a zip file, you can see I have this particular zip file already created. Okay, this is, and this is the data in it. Okay, this is the data in it, and I have created this zip file. So if I want to process this zip file, so what it will do, first it will uncompress this zip file and whatever data is there, it will process that. So let me try to check that. Let me make this as zip. Here I don't have any footer. Okay, now let me select uncompress zip file. Now let me run it. So you can see it is reading all the data from it. Whatever data I had in this zip file, there are 4 records. There is no empty record here. There are 4 records, and all those 4 records are getting selected here. Now we can try some more permutation combination. Now suppose say I don't have a zip file here. I am making this as a CSV because I already have a CSV file here. If you see here, this is my CSV file. Okay, I'm reading this particular file here. Now I'm checking this particular checkbox, uncompress a zip file. Now let me run it. You can see the job got completed, but it is not pulling any of the record. Here 0 rows were selected because it is expecting that it will be a zip file and it is trying to unzip that. So as it is not getting the zip file, so no records are getting processed. Now let's go to the other options. Let's go to advanced. So here, if I select advanced separator, so if we have any numeric value, so when you see when you load the data into the output file, the 1000 separator is currently comma and the decimal separator is currently dot. This is the by default one. Now suppose you want to change the separator from comma to pipe or something. So we can always do that here based on our convenience. So this is the by default one. Now suppose I want to trim all the columns before it is getting loaded. Now suppose here in my data I have few space in it. Now suppose say Samir has some space in it. Okay, and after January we have a space. Let me save this particular file. Now let me run it. Okay, you can see a space is coming here. Now if I want to remove this particular space while reading the data, I can always do that. I can go to the advanced setting. We can do in 2 ways. Either we can trim all the columns so that it will check for each and every column and it will trim it, or we can select a particular column. If I want to select employee name, I can select that. I can select that employee month. I can select that, or I can select click all the columns, trim all the columns. So there are 2 options. Now let me run it. I have selected trim all options, trim all columns option. Now you can see we had that space in Samir and after January, so that got removed, and now we have the 4 records got parsed. Now there are few more options here. Now if I have a date column and I want to check that it is a particular, it is in a date format or not, I can always check this box. And if I want to check each row against its corresponding schema, I can check this. So let me show you that also. Let me not. Okay, so now I have selected check each row structure against the schema. Now let me run it and see how the data comes. What is my actual data? Let me show you what data I am actually pulling. So this is the data I am pulling. So you can see I am getting 2 missing columns. And there are 4 records which I'm getting the data, and I'm getting 2 missing columns error. So what is that missing column error? You can see this is not a actual data and this is not actual data. So that's why as I've selected this component and in the advanced setting, I have selected check each row structure against schema. So as it doesn't fall under the schema, so it is throwing that error, missing columns. Okay. Now we can go to, now suppose we always do a naming convention while doing creating any job in Talend. So whether it is a job name or it is a component, here you can see it's t file input delimited underscore one. But if we want to rename it to a particular one, like I can always do that. I can go to this view option, and under this label format I can always do the change. Like I can make it input file. So you can see that automatically got updated here. Now if I so you can see that instead of t file input delimited, it came as uh, input file. And you can see here it shows that input, this is input file, the name is input file, but what is the actual component here? It is t file input delimited. Now under the documentation I can show some comments here. Oh, this is for which related activity and all those. I can always mention those, but these are basically the cosmetic changes that is helpful for the person who views the data, who views the job. By looking at the component, he or she can identify what that exact component do. This is for that cosmetic changes only, but this will not impact any of the thing while running any job. Under this view I can show you that. So you can see the job is running as it was running earlier. This particular change in the input file name has not changed any of the thing in the job. And here you can see after each component you can see a row, how many rows it got processed, and is as it came in green, that means all the rows that are parsed are loaded, are processed successfully without any error. So the green symbol shows that it is a successful one. Yeah, there is one more option that I have that we have missed in under the basic setting. We have a die on error. Suppose if I'm not selecting any die on error, so if there is any failure, the record is not as per the schema. So what will it will do? It will just skip that particular record. Okay, it will skip that particular record and it will process it. But if I select die on error, then the job will fail. So now you can see I have selected die on error. So earlier we were getting column mismatch now, but it was not failing. Now you can see the exception. We got a failure here. That is a column mismatch. The error it is showing as column mismatch and it is failing. Earlier it was not failing. It was just providing a message that there is a there is a issue in the data. But now as I've selected die on failure, die on error. So we got this exception message, and you can see in the UI, you can see a error here where we can identify where exactly is the error. And you can see only 3 files were processed. If you see the data, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 records. But after 3 records, in the 4th record, it failed. So that's why it is saying 3 records are processed, but it is in blue. So it did not process successfully all the records. So only the 3 records were parsed. That's why it is not in green, it is in blue. I hope we got all the information regarding tFile input component and its corresponding properties. I hope this session is helpful. Thanks all.